Hey everybody, welcome back to Alpha Beta Orchard's citrus experiment. I figured we'd give you a 2022 update after we ended up having that awful February 2021 freeze. So did I end up having casualties? I sure did. What did I learn out of the whole situation? Get a generator, have electricity source, have a plan of action for a backup. So end up putting a bunch of mounded dirt or leaves at the base of your citrus trees to try to protect them, at least if you've got grafts. And if you're in the DFW area like I am, look for actual specimens that are cuttings. So on the orange tag you'll see, let me see if I can find one for you. Hold on just a sec. Right here, you can see one, and see how that says cutting? That's what you want if you can. And a good example is, we're gonna look at the Kumquat. This was the old Kumquat's trunk, and it froze all the way down to there, but I got, since it was a cutting, aka on its own roots, it came back true. And all of my plants that were cuttings on their own roots came back. Pretty impressive considering I was monitoring the temperatures and we lost electricity for 36 hours and hit a low of 0 degrees. So the combination of this being the south wall, having the 6 mil plastic protecting it, and having that temperature secured with C9 Christmas incandescent lights before we lost electricity definitely helped. I thought I'd have a lot more carnage. I'm really impressed, all things considered. So let's jump into the progress of the different trees. Right here in front of us, we've got the Kumquat. It's Nagami. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but she is on her own roots, like I mentioned. She was planted in fall 2017, so that makes her 5 years old now. She is 4.5 feet tall, and I'm attempting to espalier her. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's a French term for making them flat against the wall like you're seeing in the brick. And I have guide wires attached to T-posts from one end of this wall to the other to be able to clip the branches to keep it flat. So this is important for a few reasons. I cover this area using these poles as a guide for the 6 mil plastic to lay against, and then I end up tacking it down along the rock bottom all the way up to the top of the eaves. All right, now you can see my summer sails, but I usually end up attaching it up underneath, and I have another video for that you can end up looking at. I'll link it in the information here. But it is important because I put, this past year after my experience with the frost or the freeze, I went ahead and threw a frost cloth over top of these guys, so all just right up and over, and had the incandescent lights underneath. And what I found is the frost cloth helped the water run off and not have that freezing water drip on them and cause burns at different spots on the trunk. So it was really successful. It still allowed enough light in for the plants to be happy, and was that extra added protection after the freeze and being paranoid that I was like, you know what, we're just going to be, have caution and do what I think will help. And it worked out really well for me. So take that information and use it as you will. It also keeps it flat against the wall, so that way I'm not struggling or puncturing holes in my 6 mil plastic. That stuff is expensive. You don't want to ruin it. You definitely want to make sure you get your money's worth and have it extend as many years as possible. So that's the reason why I espalier it against the wall. Just makes it a lot more manageable. So the next item I want to actually touch base on is my, what I call my basketball player Avocado. So it was a seedling from my son's avocado toast, and you can see she goes all the way up almost to the edge of my roof. And if you take a look at this trunk, this is a pretty good sized trunk. I'd say it's probably the diameter of a quarter. You look at my thumb compared to it, it's pretty substantial. And going all the way down to the ground, you can see that trunk, it's already starting to bark up. Now, since it's an unknown avocado, I just planted a bunch to see what would happen. I'm nicknaming this sucker the basketball player because I sprouted it in summer 2020 and planted it in the ground spring of 2021, right after the freeze, and it's 2 years old. So to be 2 years old and over 7 foot tall, I think that's pretty impressive. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I don't know if it'll fruit, but it's definitely quite the specimen compared to the other sprouts. This is another one sprouted from the same period, and you can see it's a lot smaller. And this is what I would expect to see, is a tree that's about 3 foot tall, almost 4. And like I said, that's what I would expect to see out of an avocado, not one that's already up to roof line. So definitely looking forward to seeing how this one fares through the winter. Next on our list, there is the Meyers Lemon. So this is my rock star. She is, as you can see, surpassing the roof line, so I'm going to have to trim and esparliate it back into shape. But this also is a cutting, so it's on its own roots. It was planted in summer 2017. She's 5 years old, over 8 foot tall, esparliate as well, and sustained quite a bit of damage in that freeze. So if you look down here, you can see the dead stems, and you can see where on the new one came right up from the root, and I've got 3 really lovely trunks. You can see one of the old ones there with fungus growing on it, and a new one right next to it. So been really impressed. And she's also setting fruit. So you can see this is the first year we're getting fruit again. Putting out some really nice sized lemons in there. Should get about 20 or 30 that are on the tree. You can't really see them since they haven't turned colors, but they should start turning pretty soon. At the same time that I ended up planting the avocado, we ended up adding this mango. So it was a trade. I traded a little lemon tree sprout and a avocado sprout for this mango, unknown variety, from a really nice lady off of Facebook that we just kind of follow, and I trade a bunch of things. In addition to this area, I end up grabbing some of those Lowe's cheapo aloe veras that you normally see, right about that size. Let's see right there. And this is how big they got. So they did really, really well. I used them as a gauge to see how well the temperatures would hold and maintain at satisfactory warmth for the citrus, to see how far out I could come. So they did really well. I think I'll actually be able to try harvesting these for some juice, and great use of a little 99-cent aloe. So they also help keep the 6 mil plastic from impeding and pushing in too far, although the little spikes on the edge, I have to be careful about them not puncturing the plastic as well. But just to add in, we've got some cutie seedlings that popped up in here. I also have some replacement lime. Your lime trees are going to be really, really cold sensitive, and they were some of the ones that ended up having the dieback that they just didn't come back. So I'm trying again. Used the frost cloth technique this past winter. It worked really well, so I'm going to do the same thing again. And I also made sure that I got these on their own roots. So lesson learned. The blood orange that was in this position here ended up, as you can see, die back. It was not on its own roots. So what came up instead, in my estimation, looks like a trifoliate based on the 3-leaf pattern. Those are commonly used for rootstock. Why didn't I get rid of it? I figured it'd be a good experiment. We can try grafting some things to it and see what happens. But it's about the height of the edge of the roof too. So no point cutting it back. I might want to try to experiment, who knows. Right here we have a guava. I have yet to get any fruit on it. I think it's a pink or red, I don't know what kind. Don't really care. Just trying to see what it'll do. She's getting pretty tall too. She's about 5 foot. Didn't have the dieback like I had last year, so once again, I think the frost cloth was a really good addition to my system. And then these gals. We've got, this one is the Miho, and she is, oh, let's see how old she is. She was budded or grafted and planted spring 2018. You can see that's the date on this as well. And where is that? It's usually marked on here what they are. This one doesn't have it, but it is definitely grafted. Now you're going to see here that I actually have a root ball that I'm trying to get it on its own roots, because finding that all of the plants on their own roots did much better in surviving encouraged me to give it a try, see if I can get it on its own roots, and then put it in the ground that way, so I can ensure if we do have dire situation like the 2021 freeze that we ended up having, that I'm not in the same position of having to start over with a lot of my projects. So this is the Miho. It was planted spring 2018. It's 4 years old, and it's hit about 6 foot. It's also a sparley, so we've trimmed it and attached it to the wire. And then right next to it is its sister, St. Anne Satsuma. It is also grafted. It was planted spring 2019, so 1 year later. It's 3 years old, and it's about 3 foot tall. That's barley as well. This big mama jama is my ice cream banana. She just keeps going. It's real big. I tend to end up hacking off the tops right about at that juncture where it meets the pole. I hack them off at about that point and then stuff them behind the 6mm plastic, just to make sure that I'm not going to end up losing it. It just gives it a really tropical vibe. Last year when I chopped it back like that, I ended up having the fruit actually come out, so I had no leaves and the fruit and flower. It did pollinate. I got lazy, did not properly protect it from the cold. It leaned up against the 6mm plastic, and I lost any fruit growth. So kind of disappointed I didn't get to try it, but you know, live and learn. Can't be lazy if you want some of these things. And then the other thing is right before the freeze, I ended up harvesting about 100 of those Meyer Lemon, and I ended up planting all the seeds because, you know, why not? Now, Meyers Lemon will not grow true to seed, is my understanding. Some citrus will, some won't. There's a list. I can link to that too as well, to give you a better understanding of what you can plant and expect an actual seed. The only downside is you're going to be waiting a while to get fruit, but for me it's worth it. So I'm pushing zones anyways. I'm in zone 8. Citrus really should be in about zone 10. That's where they're going to be happiest. I'm attempting to get the strongest that have that natural proclivity towards surviving our wild temperature swings and maybe getting a better plant out of it. So I'm trying to, maybe if I can raise a few generations, get something that might survive in the DFW area. So that's my end goal. Whether or not I achieve it or not, you know, it's whatever. I'm not mad if I don't. It's a good experiment. What I want to show you next is not my mess. I was trimming trees, but I've got, after I learned what I learned from this winter destruction that we ended up having for the 2020 winter to the February 2021, I learned that having my plants on their own roots was the win. So what I've tried to attempt to do is, one, buy every variety of citrus I can. I've got them set up on a system that waters them once in the morning and then again at about 5 o'clock, and it's just a water line that I've got running, and I use the beehive system to turn everything on and off from my phone based on rules that I've given it. But what I'm doing is, and you can see it here, is I've done a little plastic bag with dirt around some of the branches that I'm intending to hopefully cut off And I've got a few different varieties. So this one is Sunburst Tangerine. I've got a variegated Eureka lemon here. She's real pretty. I will admit I bought that one just for the looks. I've got Brown Select, and I'm also doing a baggie, another one. And this one is a Valencia Orange. This one is Anne Satsuma. And I've got one going on up here. And I went hog wild just buying a bunch this past spring. This one's throwing up a shoot. I may rough this up and attempt to reposition because this one looks like it died. So see if I can end up getting these ones to root. And they're setting fruit too, so really impressed. This one's on the Ori. And this one's the Mandarin, the Pokon. So super excited about these. We've got a Bumper Select, and all of these were all purchased this past spring. So just kind of holding on to them and seeing what we get. This Bumper Satsuma is setting fruit as well, and she lives up to her name. There's quite a few of them, especially with how little that trunk is. It's a little bitty trunk for how many it's setting. We've got a pink, a red. It's a grapefruit. Doesn't say what type, but I'm guessing kind of a ruby grapefruit. And this one did not set any fruit this year. It's got a pretty good sized trunk, but they'll get pretty big. And then a Page Mandarin. So I got that one. And I did not add any air layers to this one. That's what that's called, where I'm putting the dirt and holding on to it. But wait, there's more. So I ended up tasting some actual decent varieties of mango that were, not the standard ones you get, and they're actually pretty good. The yellow mango, the honey mangoes, really, really tasty. This one's a carry, and I ended up getting it from the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens. There's a lady there who's very knowledgeable, and I couldn't resist. I got one. Then we've also got this one. They apparently call it a Thai lime. They don't call it by that because I guess it's an offensive word. So, okay. Well noted. Let's see, what do we have right next? Got some of my ground cherries invading this particular plant. But this one is the Kishu Seedless Mandarin, and she looks pretty happy. She's growing up pretty high. And then we also have a Lila Avocado. I figured if nothing else, I can take cuttings off of this and test my grafting on the basketball player. Maybe a few branches. See if I can get better at it. And then, let's see. There's a red navel. You can't really see it in here, but red navel. And I'm also trying to root that one. We'll see if I actually get anything. Time will tell. And let's see. Chandler Pomelo. I've never tried a pomelo, but I'm willing to try. Let's see what it tastes like. We've got a Tangelo. And that one's set fruit too. We've got a Clementine. And I don't think I have a baggie on that one. You can see the fruit starting to turn. And then last but not least, we have this Dancy Tangerine. And so she's got a bunch of fruit all over as well, all the way up. So, she's pretty tall. So, I think in October, the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens is going to be doing their sale, and I will definitely be there to see if I can pick up any other varieties. And these will not go on the ground. These are going to purely be for air layering. I will hopefully try a new, I don't have room on my citrus wall that you can see over here. I'm going to need to find a different location to harvest or to house them. So going through my tunnel, I've got the other ones, and I'm hoping to house them in this new setup that I just built. So in here, I've got some 10 mil plastic, And I fully intend to attach it to this back wall back here. And right now I'm filling these cedar bins that I ended up building this spring with any of my clippings. The bottom's full of wood. I'm just literally putting whatever's dead and dying. My kitchen scrap compost, which I've actually got seedlings coming up, so it's kind of fun. I've got a cantaloupe coming in here. And then a new project is I've got some dragon fruit. So I figured, you know, build a dragon fruit tree and give those a shot, because if I got the space, why not? And then we've got a frangipani over here that has some dragon fruit on the other side too. So you can see that progress. I'm trying to train them up the trunk, and then they'll spill over the top here. But this one also ends up having the area filled. And my neighbors tend to end up using hail bays for October. They all know that I'm a gardener, and they can drop off their used hay bales here, and I'll stuff those in here. Probably get some rats, but you know what? If you don't have rats in your garden, you're probably not growing something. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'll probably put some pool noodles around the edge of that so I don't cut into my plastic, and cap things off to make it not break. And also have electric in here, so should be able to run a heater and to set it at the 42 to keep everything happy. And I've definitely got the space to put them in here, so we'll see how that goes. If not, they're gonna find their way into the house, and I'm sure my husband won't be happy with that, but you know what? It's always a work in progress. Thanks. If y'all have any questions, definitely put them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer. Sorry it's been a while. You know, life gets in the way. Take care, have fun, and happy gardening.